This doesn't have too much to do with the actual books themselves, but I went a year or two ago. Michael Buckley was here, and he was doing a book signing. And I asked him what his writing strategy was, and he said he planned out what was going to happen in all the chapters first.
Yes.
And I wanted to know what your particular writing strategy was.
I am usually a planner. Writers do tend to fall into two groups. A writer named George R. R. Martin likes to call them gardeners and architects. Gardeners like to just kind of start with an interesting premise and then let it grow and see where it goes. And architects like to build a structure for their, a chapter by chapter and then build the book around it. And I'm much more on this side, usually. It really depends on the book, though, and the process. Sometimes my outline is very sparse. Sometimes it's far more detailed. For most books, I will work out my outline a lot and my setting a whole lot, because I like to have cool places for my books to take place. But I don't plan out my characters as much. I let them grow and develop as the story progresses, which sometimes forces me, because the character will become somebody who wouldn't do something that I say the plot needs them to do. And in that case, I err on having the choice of what the character I think would really do. And that sometimes forces me to rebuild an entire plot after the characters decided they're not going to do that anymore. Yes?
With that in mind, how did stepping into Robert Jordan's work affect that process? Because he had a lot of outlines.
That's a good question. Robert Jordan was a gardener. He was a gardener with one architect attribute, and that was he would usually pick the ending he was writing toward for a given book or for the entire series. Harriet, his wife, who was also his editor, she was also, I don't know if you got the chance to ever meet her, but if you ever do, she was also the editor of Ender's Game, which is kind of a famous book that's getting turned into a movie. So she was the editor on that book. She described Robert Jordan's process by saying he would like looking at a map. He would know that he's starting in Denver and he's going to end up in Florida, but he wouldn't know all the points in between. But he'd generally write that direction. So she talked about it like the points on the map method. So when I was given all this material, it was in really no particular order. He had an ending, and he had a beginning, and then he had a whole bunch of the stuff that he wanted to happen in between in no order. And some of those scenes were written because he felt like writing that on that scene during the day, and in other scenes, they were a sentence, and in other scenes he said, I don't know what I'm going to do here yet, but this sort of thing needs to happen maybe. Or maybe I'll throw it all out. So it was really interesting. It was kind of like someone had given me taken a precious mean vase, and they'd smashed it up in a sack, poured out half the pieces, thrown in some pieces of another vase just to confuse me, and then handed it to me and said, we know it's going to be a vase. Go for it. And so there was a lot of work. I spent, something like 6 or 7 months just working on the outline before I started. And it actually was nice, though, because I had all these scenes, and since I usually work from an outline, I could take these and build an outline that had like these touchstones, right, that were his scenes all through the course of the books I was writing, so I could kind of keep myself on the path close to what he was doing. I did do a lot of revising. I did do a lot of deciding, well, let's do this. He didn't have a lot for some characters. For instance, what Perrin was doing, we knew he was where he started at the end of Night of Dreams, and we knew what he was doing in the last battle, and we didn't know anything in between. Stuff like that. Other than there will probably be a confrontation with the White Cloaks. There was like that line. Confrontation with the White Cloaks. Somewhere in here. Okay, great. That's like a book's worth that, So, I just used my instincts. I've been reading the books for so long. Mixed with the outline, mixed with his assistants and wife, me going to them and saying, okay, did you say anything about this? Does this feel right? This is what I want to try. He made this comment. How do we interpret that? Because it contradicts this comment over here, where Harry would be like, yeah, he did that a lot. He didn't know what he was going to do. So he'd write them both down and then decide in the moment what he wanted to do. Stuff like that. So, all right. Let's go to this guy right here, and then we'll work our way around. We'll try to get to everybody.
Well, what book were you trying to write when you wrote the arithmetic?
It's a book called The Lyre of Partenelle, and I never finished it. It was a book about the origin story of a character named Hoyd, who shows up in a lot of my other books. And it was the wrong origin story. It was just not working. And he's a very important character in my books, and so the fact that that was going wrong was really depressing, and I didn't want to continue the book with it going poorly like that. Usually I don't recommend that people stop writing books, but I did stop writing that one. All right, let's do a few of these. Let's go right here.